Okay, so folks, this would be the subject. That's a print of a rendering of the high power pistol in its detail. You'll see there at the bottom of the magazine, FN noted that it had 54 components. Welcome to one of the most challenging handguns to produce. Not because of its high number of parts, although that's part of it. It's because it contains very, very tight tolerances from front to back and top to bottom. And these tolerances demand respect. And what constitutes respect? Adherence to the tolerance ranges, and ultimately refining processes until you have optimal. And where does, what is our impression of Springfield at this point? High power folks that know the high power design, they look at the initial offering by Springfield. This was a very basic, very safe initial offering of a high power pistol. Not a lot of embellishments and not a lot of advanced stuff. Just very, very basic, and priced accordingly. First of all, again, this is an incredibly challenging handgun to produce and manufacture. Believe it, since Browning discontinued this handgun in 2018, there hasn't been a hotter handgun on the resale market, according to a lot of different statistics, gunbroker.com. Since then, the high power has been one of the hottest things in the handgun market consistently. And there's no reason why manufacturers would not want to be jumping into that market. No different than, say, the 1911 market, where there's 30 manufacturers of 1911s today, or maybe even more, nobody knows. The high power is not the same animal. You don't see 30 different manufacturers jumping in and, we're going to make a high power. You don't just decide we're going to make a high power. You can do it with the 1911, there's no question. However, the high power is just, it's a different animal. And Springfield has really, really taken a big leap forward and a big step here in bringing a high power pistol to market. What we saw today was quite frankly, some of the very best performance that we've ever gotten out of a high power pistol. I think that showed in the accuracy, in the functionality, in the consistency, in the way that it appears the extractor is holding, and the slide cycle rate. Everything is just came together. Here's what we're going to say, and I know a lot of people. I'm hearing a lot of people going, well, how are you going to defend Springfield on this? How are you going to? And I have to tell you, at this point in our evaluation and in our analysis, I think Springfield has probably done a lot of the same things that we would do as a company if we were not, we're unsure of exact hardnesses and tolerances and things. I think the most logical thing that a company would do would be to machine from preheated steel, preheated machinable steel, and avoid the heat treating process, part of the process entirely. I think that's what they probably did. We may very well, if we were in their shoes, do the same thing. This part is not a big deal, because anything that would constitute a deviation off of what other manufacturers have done with their internal parts, Springfield went the direction of safe and conservative, and they did not over-harden parts, and we are highly optimistic that we're not going to be breaking firing pins, firing pin retaining plates, ejectors, those parts that remain in the SA-35 that we've not replaced, and that's a good thing. I mean, the other option, if if you're going to deviate, the other option is to harden the firing pin retaining plate to 65 Rockwell, and it fractures into multiple pieces during the first magazine, which is basically what would happen if you did that. So, in terms of, if you're going to deviate this way or that way from what somebody else has done with a particular design, they have deviated the smart way. They've deviated the safe way. And, that shows their respect to the high power design, quite frankly. There's something to be said for that. With respect to, this bit here, on my hand and the sharpness that we had here and all over the pistol and so forth, this is one of those subjects too that when we say this is a challenging design to make, and when we say this is a design that is full of tight tolerances, this is true to the point that just simple deburring, you saw this in the video, before we did this complete deburring of the handgun, when the original black oxide finish just disappeared, before this we were having a difficult time getting cartridges to extract at all. Even, I mean, we couldn't lighten the spring. What that told us is that, whatever natural deburring process the frame and the slide were doing with each other was counterproductive. In other words, it was apparently deburring at such a level that it was getting, some type of fragments or interference in the way, and it's logical, and it happens. And the natural deburring of frames and slide relationship that they do, as a natural course of becoming acquainted. This can work for you or it can work against you, and it depends on to the extent that that is necessary. In the case of this specific SA-35 that you're looking at, it proved to be counterproductive. What I mean is, just continuing to shoot, and you saw that the extracting empty shell casings were barely lopping out of the pistol. We deburred the pistol, and what was just, falling just to the right of my feet are now sailing 7 feet, 8 feet with regularity and great consistency even. And, that's no illusion. That's, that's just a simple deburring process that we came up with radically changed the way that this slide and this frame relate to each other. Actually, it normalized the way that the slide and frame should relate to each other. That what I guess what that shows you is this is a deburring process that took us about a total of 3.5 hours in a mechanical tumbling device. This radically changed how the function of this handgun behaved in the slide cycle rate and so forth. In other words, this is, a lot of people are going to look at this and go, well, how did you do that? How did you know what tumbling media? How did you know what, how long, did you would be tumbling this in order to not get, tolerances and things, to where the effort to smooth out sharp edges, goes counterproductive to where now you've removed too much metal and now things are going to be sloppy. If we did that, accuracy would suffer terribly, and we would be, sending empty brass probably, across the road. So it's just, in our case, we have some experience with tumbling media. We have some experience with tumbling parts, and we know about how that tumbling media, the aggressiveness of it with, certain hardnesses of steel. So we in this particular instance, we had a head start, and there was a little bit of luck involved in, calling this and all of a sudden, you saw me. I'm shooting with bare hands again. I don't have any discomfort going on from the relationship up here. These grips from BHSpringSolutions do a nice job of creating a following of the contour of the SA-35. Good stuff. These drop on perfectly. That's another compatibility thing we wanted to confirm. As you saw, the SFS system, that SFS system is actually an 8,400 round SFS system before we put it in here from the TISOS that we're now doing extended testing with. So that's very cool. Here's where I was going with what I was saying about we got very lucky in being able to prescribe a deburring process that would accomplish what we needed here with the exterior parts that were very, very sharp, and at the same time not overcook the effort on the slide and frame rails. And this is a balance, and we're not going to be teaching it because there's too many variables. There's like infinite numbers of different types of tumbling media, and styles and capacities of tumblers. I mean, this is too variable kind of stuff. What Springfield did not do, which would be possible to do, and this would be one of the easiest catastrophic mistakes to make, is they did not go the other direction and really make a mess of this. What that would look like would be, okay, your CNC machine has a deburring program, so you go ahead and run it not knowing what the outcome is going to be, and that throws your tolerances off in too many places, and all of a sudden you have a pistol that's too loose to either hold itself together or function reliably or hold any kind of accuracy whatsoever. That's a potential downfall of doing what I don't think was done very much of with the machining program. Okay. That's leaning towards the safe side. This is not creating a problem that's insurmountable. The insurmountable is when you go the other way. I don't think there was a big, much to do as far as final polishing in the way of tumbling or anything like that. The frames and the slides. Again, what we did in order to now have all of these edges be very kinder and gentler and more refined and frankly now elegant and civilized, and we normalized the slide velocity for the spring resistances we have on board. What we accomplished there could just as easily have been overcooked and overdone. It's only just because of our experiences with certain tumbling media and this level of hardness of steel already that we had even a way to even guess, what would be the right approach. Okay, now when folks send us their Springfield SA-35 and they want, a refinish on their SA-35, we have a deburring process. We can run their handgun through. It'll make all the difference in the world as far as function, as far as the quality of the refinish and the comfort of shooting the handgun. And this is not going to be like, an exorbitant cost because we've been able to avoid the idea of hand manual deburring. You could not do it because, you used to go, okay, well, what needs deburred? Everything. On this Springfield SA-35, the answer would have been absolutely everything, everywhere, inside and out, because they leaned the finish work towards the safe side. And, when you are new at doing something, anything, you want to be conservative about what you do, and you don't want to go towards the too aggressive side on anything because that takes you to catastrophic places of making mistakes you can't fix. What we have done with this Springfield SA-35 is not, this is not the end of the world kind of stuff. Now a lot of people, who are accustomed to going, getting a handgun out of the box, go to the range, it's perfect, wonderful, and then, and then it goes home and gets with the rest of the pistol collection and it gets shot twice and then they don't think about it and go buy another one. Okay, we do a lot of that kind of stuff. For years and years and years, Nobody bought a high power pistol and just went to the range. They bought a high power pistol and went to the gunsmith to get the trigger fixed. Because it was 9-pound trigger, scratchy, gritty out of the box, and that's what they did, and everybody did. The reason they needed to do that is because, again, this is an incredibly complex machine to manufacture. FN and Browning, don't let anybody kid you. They weren't perfect. It's a lot of the reason why BHSpringSolutions was ever viable is because there could never be enough attention to detail to make these things be just wonderful out of the box, apparently, for most manufacturers. And it's just a nature of this beast. And, to Springfield's credit, they've shown a ton of courage, to even go here, frankly. Because this is a design that is laced with opportunities to just miss the most finite details that can be, instrumental in terms of good function or not good function. Me, myself, and I'm this journey with the Springfield SA-35 has certainly taken on a face. I mean, here I am sitting tonight with this bare steel because, we deburred the whole thing. I never saw that coming, never had any idea we would be going there, and it was unavoidable. We didn't have a choice. I mean, we showed it in the video, how we couldn't get extraction. We couldn't get slide cycling. And it finally, we were out of bullets. We had to do the inevitable, what had not been done. It made all the difference in the world, and this is not like major surgery. I would suspect that Springfield's going to tweak their operations and bring this thing in with a little bit more refinement and more civilized and so forth, and they may be on a journey for a while to really tweak and refine and rehone their processes, with this handgun. What I can tell you is that, a lot of people are going, well, is it a good gun? Is it not a good gun? Whatever. I want to tell you what you saw as the performance of this handgun out of that last 100 rounds, that was unlike anything we've had out of this handgun since we pulled it out of the box. And it is just so inspiring. I mean, it's just what we want to see. When we make a BH Advanced Masterpiece High Power, we expect that kind of function. Just what you saw in the video: consistency of extraction, accuracy, controllability, no stoppages. This is all, in our minds, for our objectives, for what we want to know and determine about this handgun. The real integrity here is in the what is possible and what can be. And this handgun that I shot tonight, other than the fact that it would be nice to have a real finish on it, this was wonderful. It was just as good as it gets. And I would just have no apprehensions about just walking down the road with this to wherever I ended up. It's just ran wonderful. So we hope you follow us through the rest of this journey, folks. Right now, we're feeling really positive about what Springfield has given the world to work with. And half the fun of the high power is the fact that you can personalize these things, you can upgrade things, and you can make them yours. And this handgun is making that possible. And it's worth moving forward with from here and seeing if this all has a happy ending, we hope. Folks, thanks for watching. I'm Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC, BHSpringSolutions.com for High Power University in our special series about the Springfield SA-35 High Power.